everyone, and welcome to this online Q&A for the MSc MA Reparatory Justice, delivered in partnership between University of the West Indies and University of Glasgow. My name is Dr. Vicky Price, and I'm the Dean of Postgraduate Teaching in the College of Arts at University of Glasgow, and I'm delighted to be hosting today's conversation. I'm also really delighted to be joined by our excellent panel, which includes Dr. Tara Inniss, who is from the History and Philosophy faculty at the Cohort campus at University of the West Indies, with Dr. Christine Whyte, who is based in the School of Humanities at University of Glasgow, and Dr. DrRamona Biholar, who is based at the Mona campus in the Faculty of Law at University of the West Indies. So enormous thanks to Ramona, Christine and Tara for joining today. What we're going to do is have a conversation about the programme, and we are really keen also to answer any questions that you guys might have about the programme. So just to say, please don't hesitate to put any questions that you have into the chat, and we will do our very best to make sure that we get through as many of the hot topics as possible. But first of all, what I'd like to do before we start talking about the programme is expand our introductions and go to each of our panellists and ask you each to say a little bit about your areas of expertise and your role in connection to the programme. So I'd like to go to Tara first, please.
Hello, my name is Dr. Tara Inniss. I teach at the Department of History and Philosophy at the University of the West Indies Cohort campus in Barbados. I've been very interested in my recent research on links between heritage properties between the Caribbean and the United Kingdom and other metropolitan spaces, and also in the restitution of colonial objects. So I'm really looking forward to being one of the co-conveners of this program, along with my colleagues at the University of Glasgow and at Mona campus.
Thanks, Tara. That's brilliant. Christine, could I ask you the same question, please? Tell us a little bit about your areas of expertise and your role in connection to the programme.
Thanks, Vicky. I'm a lecturer in global history at the University of Glasgow, and my PhD research explored the legal ends to slavery in the British Empire, specifically in West Africa. And now I'm working on a project that's looking at a different aspect of the end of slavery, which is the abolition of the oceanic slave trades and what happened to children who were liberated from the slave trades. And I've been involved in this program from the outset in developing and setting it up. And I'm interested in exploring through the program questions about agency, about solidarity, and about how we can foster different kinds of international cooperation to repair the harms of the past.
Thanks ever so much, Christine. That's brilliant. And Ramona, can I ask you the same question, please?
Hello, everybody. I'm a senior lecturer in law at the University of the West Indies at Mona campus in Jamaica. My teaching, research, and writing intersect in the areas of international human rights law, substantive rights and implementation, gender in the law in the Commonwealth Caribbean, and with regard to reparatory justice, I'm especially concerned in my research with whether and how international human rights law can assist Caribbean reparation claims, and what are the specific human rights mechanisms in that regard. For this master degree, I'm one of the co-conveners together with Tara and Christine, and I'm particularly responsible for the course Slavery, Conflict, and Human Rights.
Lovely, thank you, Ramona. So what I'm getting is a sense of interdisciplinarity as one of the particularly exciting things about this programme, as well as the opportunity to study at one of the respective campuses. And no doubt we'll get into a really good conversation about each of the campuses a little bit later. But what I'd like to do is start by finding out a little bit more about how this exciting collaboration between the University of the West Indies and University of Glasgow has come about, and in particular the thinking behind this programme. So Tara, could I ask you to start us off on that, please?
Thanks. Well, as I understand it, this is a collaborative program between the University of Glasgow and the University of the West Indies that came out of some research that the University of Glasgow was doing into its links with the slave trade and slavery. And part of that discussion was doing some of the initial work of repair, and there was a collaboration with the University of the West Indies to come up with programs and projects that might aid in this scheme to repair this part of the past. So the MSc MA in Reparatory Justice was seen as one of these partnerships where we could advocate for younger people to get involved in the much needed work and research of reparatory justice going forward. So we're really excited to be working with the University of Glasgow in the development of this program and reaching out to people on both sides of the Atlantic about how they can work together.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tara. And Christine, I'll come to you. I'm not sure if there's anything you would like to add to that. And then I've got a question about the nature of a double degree, but I'll come to that in a wee second.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dr. Inniss covered almost everything, but for me, the other exciting aspect of this is that this is a program that's come out of a program of reparative justice. So it's something that's come out of sort of two institutions trying to explore and find a way to make a way to repair. And so in a way, a lot of these questions, because they're not settled, are what the students in the program will be exploring as it's a kind of live and evolving situation.
Thanks, Christine. And can I ask you a little bit about what is a double degree? What does it mean to have a double degree? And what will students come away with at the end of the programme, Christine?
Well, the double degree in reparatory justice is equally delivered by the University of the West Indies and the University of Glasgow. So successfully completing the program will mean that you get a master's degree from both institutions. You'll get a certificate from both institutions, and you can choose which institution you base yourself at for your studies, and you'll be able to access the expertise and resources of the other institution and the other campuses.
Thanks, Christine. That's brilliant. And Ramona, I'd like to pick up on something that you said about the course that you're teaching, because it sounded amazing. So I'd like to find out a little bit more about that, the course that you mentioned tied into human rights. So tell us a little bit about that course and what you're most excited about in relation to it.
Thank you. So I teach the core course, Slavery, Conflict, and Human Rights, as I mentioned. And this course introduces students to the legal aspects of reparatory justice and examines the past legal regime of slavery, but also the current critiques of slavery, the protections against slavery now explicitly recognized in international and regional human rights legal frameworks. With students, we'll undertake a human rights analysis of the discriminatory ideologies at the basis of the practice of slavery, such as racial stereotyping. We will discuss racial discrimination and highlight the human rights frameworks that condemn colonialism and those discriminatory practices associated with it. And ultimately, we'll explore the possibilities, but also the limitations of the human rights accountability mechanisms with regards to the demand for reparations for slavery.
Thank you so much, Ramona. That sounds amazing. And can I ask Tara to talk us through the wider programme? So how is the programme structured? Ramona obviously talked about one of the core courses there, but are there other core courses, and what makes those up?
Yes, so there are 4 core courses in the degree, and as Dr. Whyte had indicated, we're equally sharing the delivery of those courses. So 2 courses will be delivered by colleagues at the University of Glasgow, and then 2 of the core courses will be delivered by colleagues at the University of the West Indies, so one being from Mona campus, and the other one which will be team taught with Dr. Rodney Worrell at Cave Hill, so a colleague of mine in the department, called the Pedagogy of Reparatory Justice. And there are going to be those 4 courses, so 4 core courses, and then students will have the option of accessing electives or optional courses from both the University of Glasgow and the University of the West Indies at both Cave Hill and Mona. Those will be all delivered in a hybrid or online format, so students can have access to those cohorts going into those programs, into those courses. And then there's going to be a dissertation that students will be responsible for. So at the end of their course of study, they will be responsible for the submission of a research project on an area of reparatory justice.
Thanks, Tara. That is so helpful just to get a sense of the different components that make up the programme. And I love the idea of the optional courses where presumably candidates can pick courses that they're particularly interested in and that suit their needs, thinking about what they want to go on to do after the programme as well. So lovely to be able to tailor the curriculum accordingly. Christine, Tara spoke briefly there about the dissertation elements. And can I ask you to expand on that? How will the supervision for the dissertations, for example, work? Because I mean, we were talking a moment ago about the interdisciplinarity of the team that contributes to teaching this programme, and presumably students will have the opportunity to tap into that. So how does that apply in relation to the dissertation component?
Yes, well, I think the dissertation will be one of the most exciting parts of this programme, because students have this unique situation where they've got access to expertise across 2 different institutions. In the case of the University of the West Indies, across the 2 different campuses, so across Barbados and Jamaica. And so that will open up like a lot of different choices in terms of where you want to take your research at the end of your program. Once you've decided on a topic and found a supervisor that fits and has the expertise to guide you through that piece of research, you'll also be assigned a second supervisor, a co-supervisor from the other institution. And what that'll allow you to do is to have a contact to access the resources, both in the institution and in the city that it's based in. So what that does really is double the amount of resources and expertise you have access to, and also provides you with a kind of supervisory team to guide you through the process of research. And so what we're hoping is that people will come with questions, with broad topics that they can refine along with their cohorts and the lectures on the programme, so that in the second semester they can start to refine those into research questions, identify their sources, what kind of methods they're going to use. And one of the core courses offers some support in thinking about methods in different ways of approaching these questions. And then over the summer, you'll be able to conduct your research, working together with a supervisor from the University of the West Indies and one from the University of Glasgow.
Thank you, Christine. That's amazing. And that's fantastic to have a supervisor at each institution. That's a lovely model for the dissertations. I'm conscious we've got a question in the chat, and I think it's a really important question. So I'm absolutely going to take this here, I think. So we have a question that asks, is there a possibility to take any of the core or other courses as short courses as an entry into the programme? So that leads us into a question about applying for the programme. What is the process for that? So if I go to Tara maybe for this question, please.
Well, in order to navigate both institutions, we felt that the University of Glasgow was well equipped to take the initial application. So when you visit the University of Glasgow sites and then find the program, then you can click on the apply now, read about the program, and then click on the application button, and then begin your application with the University of Glasgow. And then once that application is received, it will be assessed and you will be offered an interview with us as co-conveners, just to get an idea of your interests in the program. And then hopefully we will be able to get back to you then and say whether we will be offering you a place or if it's going to be provisional place, but we will communicate with you about the progress of your application once that's completed. I'm not sure if that addresses the question that was asked, but I think that's a good starting point to get other information that might be required.
Thank you, Tara. That's great. And I think that has been really useful. And of course, just to say to anyone watching, please don't hesitate to reach out direct to us, and we can advise on your individual circumstances as well accordingly. And the details and email addresses for each of our conveners have been provided in the chat, and earlier I know we're on the screen as well. So please don't hesitate to get in touch if you have any questions on that. The other question that we've received, and again, I think it's really, really important, is about where will students be based physically, and how will they be taught? Ramona, shall I come to you on this question, please?
Sure. Students will have the opportunity to choose where they want to be located. So they can choose from the Glasgow campus or from the Barbados Cave Hill campus or Mona campus in Jamaica. And the teaching will be a combination, a hybrid modality of teaching that will mix in-person as well as online modalities, as well as synchronous and asynchronous, meaning that if a student is based at Cave Hill in Barbados, that student will take courses in person or online in Barbados, but also will be able to take online courses from the courses taught at Glasgow and at Mona. And this is a great way to actually be located in different localities and still be in the same course room.
Thank you, Ramona. That's so helpful. And can I ask Christine a little bit about the interview process that Tara mentioned? Because I imagine that might sound quite scary. So what can candidates expect from that interview process? What is it used to do? And do you have any tips for applicants who are thinking ahead to the interview part of the process, for example?
Sure. Well, anyone who's watching this webcast will have an advantage because the interview is the three of us, Dr. Biholar, Dr. Inniss, and myself, and we're not scary. And really the purpose of the interview is because this is a really new and innovative program in a really new field of study that's emerging, really. We want to get a sense of what it is that people are looking to get out of this, what experience in the field do they bring, and if not direct work or political activism experience, what is it that drew them to this program? Like, what were they thinking they could use it to implement further on in their careers or in their lives, in their communities, or in their personal politics? And so the interview is really a discussion around those topics. It's really focused on what the candidate is interested in doing and has already done. And so really we're trying to find the fit with the program, because we want to be sure that people are really going to be ready to engage with the material directly as soon as they start. It's an opportunity for us to get to know candidates, to have a bit of personal interaction before the program even begins, and for them to get to know us and a little bit about what we can offer on their journey through the master's degree.
Thanks, Christine. That's really helpful, and I think that's lovely in terms of that opportunity to get to know the conveners and have a conversation before deciding on the programme and so on. That's brilliant. In terms of some of the questions that we've had in the chat, I will come back to and expand on campus life in a little moment, but I imagine that for many people, they may be wondering about funding opportunities connected to the programme. So I was really keen to ask about those. So Tara, are there any funding opportunities? And if so, what are they and how can applicants apply for those?
Right, so if you visit the MSc MA Reparatory Justice website, you're going to be able to kind of pop down to funding opportunities, and you'll notice that we are very proud to be recent recipients of a slate of scholarships that students will have access to, which offer a 50% tuition waiver. And this is especially directed to students of Caribbean descent, because we really want to encourage Caribbean students to apply to the program. But it is open to any of our applicants from the EU and from the UK as well. So we're really pleased to be able to offer this slate of scholarships, and I hope students will find, our candidates and applicants will find this useful in their decision making into coming into the program.
Thanks so much, Tara. That's brilliant. So let's have a discussion then about each of the campuses, because I want to build on the question that we had on that, because I think it's really useful to get an insight into the postgraduate communities that students would be joining at each of the respective campuses, and also thinking more generally about how the community of students on this programme come together. So if I maybe start with that last bit first, actually, Christine, can I ask you a little bit about what are the opportunities for students studying at the different campuses to come together for this programme?
Thanks, Vicky. Yes, we're going to launch with a induction event that will bring students together virtually and in person across the different campuses in the week before the teaching formally begins. And that's to give people an opportunity to meet and introduce themselves. And we're going to replicate that online with discussion forums and encourage people to let each other know about their own areas of expertise, their own areas of research interest, and what drew them to the programme. Because what we're anticipating and what we're seeing from the applicants is that there are people applying with all different kinds of experience in the broad area of reparatory justice, and people with all different kinds of interests, and applying that and making a difference in the world after they graduate. And so getting to know the cohort of students and introducing yourself will also sort of open up a whole range of different expertise and opportunities to you. And then through the program, because there are 4 compulsory courses, so the cohort will be kind of meeting twice a week throughout the course of the programs, in person and online, so classrooms connected by Zoom. So as well as being able to mix with students on the other programs, on the optional courses, or students on campus, you'll have that sort of regular meeting schedule with the people in your cohort. And we also hope to be able to bring together some presentations of research by the different academics involved, to which the cohort of students will be invited.
Thanks, Christine. We've had a question that connects to this, which is about the size of the cohort that we're expecting in this first year. So I wonder if you could speak briefly to that as well, please, Christine.
Well, as you probably already know, that when you sort of move into graduate study, it is smaller and more intensive groups. And so for this program, we hope to recruit between 6 to 12 students in the year. And that's to allow us as a group to be able to give people the kind of support they need to do original research. For the classroom sizes, for the most part, those are capped at 12 for graduate study. And that's to provide a big enough group to really spark a lively discussion, but also sort of a size that allows individual feedback and support.
Brilliant. Thank you, Christine. I'm going to delve into campus life now a little bit more, and I'd like to go to Ramona first, please, to tell us about what is the postgraduate community like at the Mona campus? What's it like to live and study there?
Well, I would say, first of all, that the Mona campus is a beautiful campus in Kingston at the foothills of the Blue Mountains, and is marked by history and cultural interest points at each step. And whether you are in the graduate program or in the graduate program, is really a great place to be. The campus itself offers a vibrant student life at whatever level you are, through arts and especially music and theater. So you will have different centers, such as the Philip Sherlock Center for Creative Arts, that provides a rich cultural life for the university campus, but also for the wider community outside of the campus. But students also have opportunities to engage with clubs and societies that are at Mona campus, organized by other students. Graduate students have their own societies as well. But I mentioned the Philip Sherlock because there are certain student societies attached to this center that are extremely exciting to be part of, I consider. So I will give you just a couple of examples, such as the University Singers that are quite known, the University Dramatic Arts Society, the Panorhythm Steel Orchestra, or the Dance Society. And they are just a couple of examples. But also the campus life is reached by through offering a variety of sports opportunities, and also academically through the public lectures and seminars that are offered specifically for graduate students. The campus life is enriched. So I will just give a couple of examples of interesting lectures, such as the Bob Marley Annual Lecture or the Global Reggae Conference, but also more specialized graduate seminars for students in their specific fields. So from the Mona perspective, I would say that the campus offers a rich campus life, both on the academic side, but also outside of the academia.
Thanks, Ramona. And I know that you and I have talked before about the really fantastic music scene, for example, in Jamaica. I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about the arts and cultural scene there. Right.
So, I can't really say anything more than is already well known about the vibrant music scene in Kingston and in Jamaica. So I mentioned from the academic side, the conferences and lectures that are related to the music scene in this country, but also students will have the opportunity to engage with live gigs, reggae and dancehall. So it's particularly an exciting place to be and study at. But I would say that also outside of the campus, there will be a number of points of interest, whether are associated with music or not. For instance, now Kingston offers the Kingston Art Walk that will combine visual arts with music, but you will have the National Gallery, the Institute of Jamaica, Liberty Hall hosting the Marcus Garvey Multimedia Museum, and of course, Bob Marley Museum. So these are just a few of the interesting and exciting things that the Mona campus in Jamaica has to offer to students.
Thanks so much, Ramona. That's amazing. And Tara, could I ask you the same question, please? What is life like at the Cave Hill campus? What can you tell us about the postgraduate community there?
The postgraduate community at Cave Hill is quite diverse. So we serve the Eastern Caribbean and Barbados, as well as the rest of the region, but we specialize in outreach to the Eastern Caribbean and the Barbadian postgraduate community. So the postgraduate community is small, and I think that's is good because you get to know one another. And as Mona at Mona, as was discussed, that we have our own society that deals with postgraduate issues. And I think students would really like studying at Cave Hill because we are not far away from Bridgetown, which is the capital city of Barbados, less than a 10-minute drive. We're very close to all the main tourism beaches that Barbados is well known for. But I think what's really interesting, will be interesting for students to be a part of, is an increasing number of field trips and hikes and the ability to kind of go out into the community and take part in a number of initiatives that both the university, the campus, organizes, but also some of our partner organizations. So like the Barbados Museum and Historical Society has a full program of activities that delve into Barbados's history and culture. So there are many aspects that I think students will find very useful to not only to their study, but also to their well-being. And I think it's just such a great place to study and to live.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Tara. And Christine, could I ask you the same? What can you tell us about postgraduate community at the Gilmer Hall campus at University of Glasgow, please?
Well, it's very vibrant and very diverse. The University of Glasgow's located in the west end of Glasgow, so one of the nicest, sort of leafiest and greenest parts of the city, right next to a large park. And we have a really large postgraduate community at Glasgow. And for the students who'll be studying on this program, we have a really diverse range of events, seminars, and different kinds of groups that they can engage with. So I'm part of, for example, the Beniba Center for Slavery Studies, and we run work in progress sessions for people to discuss their writing groups. We have research seminars and talks from speakers coming in from around the UK, most recently Malik Al-Nasir from Cambridge University. And we also run the annual James McEwen Smith Memorial Lecture in November every year, where we invite a distinguished speaker to give a lecture, and we come together as a community to meet and to socialize around that event. There's also centres with focuses that are adjacent to the interests of our centre, so the Centre for Gender History, the Centre for War Studies, and those centres have their own research seminars, their own kind of vibrant intellectual and social lives, and they explore some of the topics that we'll be thinking about as part of this programme, to do with violence, to do with the impact of gender and gender ideologies. In terms of sort of more extracurricular, less intellectual pursuits, then Glasgow is also, like Kingston, a city of live music, and as Vicky knows, a city of live theatre. It's a really fun city to live in. It's a friendly and it's a really social city. People who live in Glasgow really enjoy meeting new people, really enjoy going out. And it's home to the famous Glasgow Art School. And so it's been a city that's produced a lot of different cultural movements and famous bands, musicians and artists. And so as Dr. Inniss said, similarly at the University of Glasgow, we'd be working alongside partner institutions in the cultural and heritage sectors to open up opportunities for students to do research. So through Glasgow Life, which is the museums and heritage section of the City Council, through Glasgow City Heritage Trust, through the National Trust for Scotland, we'd be looking to help support students and doing their research through these organisations.
Thanks, Christine. And can I ask you to say a little bit about the Glasgow Caribbean Centre for Development of Research? Because does this programme have a connection to that centre? What can you tell us about that?
Sure. So the Glasgow Caribbean Centre for Development Research was another initiative that came out of the Glasgow Slavery Reports that was researched and authored by Dr. Stephen Mullen and Professor Simon Newman. And the centre is a co-run, co-organised, co-located centre between the University of Glasgow and the University of the West Indies. And it's the formal hub of partnership activities between the two institutions. So in a way, it provides some governance and oversight to this programme, but it also sort of is working to provide opportunities for all kinds of different intellectual exchange between the two institutions across all the disciplines.
Thanks so much, Christine. That's really helpful. And I'm going to take a number of the questions, I think, that are in the chat, because we're getting some really excellent questions in. So the first one I spotted was about movement across the different campuses. Are there opportunities for students to visit the different campuses? So Tara, I don't know, would you be happy to respond to that question?
Yes, I think what we would love to do at some point in the future is to offer some mobility to be able to move in person between the campuses and to be able to conduct research. But I think for this first year, what we're asking students to do is to be sited in at one campus, but you're going to be able to interact with all of your peers across all of the other campuses. And certainly you can choose to pursue some research that might be connected to these spaces as well. But there's so much potential for research, probably in your own backyard, that you could probably, occupy yourself in that way to really delve into some very significant research questions that need to be answered. So I think what we would like to do, what we would like to aim to do with the program is to offer that mobility and to help students be a part of that kind of mobility scheme as well. We wouldn't want you to kind of go too far, too deep into your pocket at this point to do that. So we're planning to offer some more schemes to enrich that mobility experience.
Thank you very much, Tara. And I'll take another question that connects to the dissertation. So Christine, we've got a question here about when do the dissertations come in? A question about, does it have to be submitted in May or June? Now, I'm assuming that for a PGT programme, the dissertations come in a wee bit later. Can you talk us through that rhythm and when you would anticipate the dissertation project being completed?
Yes, so you get the summer to work on your dissertation. So they'd be due the end of August, and that would give you the time from when classes end at the end of March. You then have this kind of summer semester in which to conduct your research and meet regularly with your two supervisors to sort of scaffold that process of putting it together, from drawing together a list of readings to doing the research to really sort of refining those research questions and your structure. And it's really important to have that kind of period of independent work, I think, sort of a kind of sustained independent study where you are really the driver, and by the end you are the expert in that topic. We fully anticipate that you would exceed the knowledge and the expertise of your supervisors by the time you've finished writing your dissertation on that specific topic, because it really will be something that's uniquely been approached by you, whether that's in the approach you take, whether that's in the questions that you ask, or whether that's in the sources that you look at.
And we also have a question, I'm just going to read it out. Is there any preference for students interested in full-time or part-time study, or a different percentage of students admitted for each? Now, my understanding is that there's no set percentage, that rather it's an individual candidate's decision on whether they study part-time or full-time, but that absolutely we support students to select the mode of learning that is most appropriate for them and their individual circumstances. Would that be fair to say, Ramona? And I don't know if you've got any tips for anyone who might be thinking about studying part-time, for example.
Absolutely, you're right, Vicky. It is really up to the student choice and possibilities to take whether a full-time or a part-time study in this program. And my advice to students is to first be much aware of their time and how it's possible for them to allocate it so that they can fully be engaged with the program of study. As my colleague mentioned earlier, the postgraduate programs are more intense, the classes are smaller. And of course, we as teachers expect that students are fully engaged and active. Therefore, the best is for the student to choose the mode of attending this program.
Thanks very much, Mona. That's really helpful. We've also got a question about the start of the academic year and when classes begin, and how will students find out about induction and so forth. So Christine, I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about how do candidates or offer holders find out about first classes, what to prepare, etc.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of information in the first few weeks, and so what we try to do is to distill that down as much as we can into one handy guide, into a program handbook that'll lead you through the process. The term begins on the Monday 11th September this year, but that week is not a teaching week. That's an induction and a finding your way week. And so we'll have an induction meeting to bring people together, and we'll also be using the discussion forums online on our virtual learning environment to encourage people to talk to each other. But that's also a week in which you can ask questions about the practicalities of finding your way around these two institutions. And then teaching will formally begin in the next week, on the 18th of September. But it's not going to, that doesn't mean that induction's over. It doesn't mean you have to stop asking questions. For us, the important thing is that you have access to the resources that you need to do the work that you're interested in. And so we encourage people to attend virtual office hours or office hours in person, to ask questions about the program or to get advice about reading and particular research directions. And then, of course, in the classes themselves and on the online learning environments, there'll be all kinds of resources and ways to ask questions. And one thing we really want to encourage is also for the students to help each other in the cohorts, and so that you sort of have that kind of supportive group and community around the program.
Thanks so much, Christine. I'm going to take just two further quick questions, and Tara, I'm going to ask you to respond to them if that would be okay, please. There's a question, in addition to the Glasgow Caribbean Centre for Development Research, will there be research opportunities or affiliation with UWI's Centre for Reparations Research? Is the first one.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So I think what's going to happen with our students who are interested in research is that, and to be possibly placed with organizations interested in reparatory justice and activism, is that we're going to use our network. So starting with the Center for Reparations Research, and then also there's a number of national commissions in the region that are working towards the CARICOM 10-point plan for reparations, and they have national programs, and they might need additional research and assistance with their program objectives. So we're hoping to kind of reach into that network and provide opportunities for students to do some authentic learning in those spaces. So certainly we will be working with Professor Vereen Shepherd, who has been such a touchstone for this program, and helping to develop and conceptualize this program, along with our Vice Chancellor, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles. Both of them are I think, global leaders in reparatory justice and research. So we're going to be using those contacts to really deliver the best outcomes and objectives for our students.
Thank you, Tara. And the second question is whether it's okay for someone from the UK to apply to study in another campus. I assume that absolutely that's okay. It's really important that candidates can select to study from whichever campus they would most like to. And there'll be different factors at play, you know, for everyone individually on that. So am I right that it would be absolutely fine? I can see lots of nods.
Yes, yeah, I think
would be great. Yeah.
If students if applicants are willing to relocate and to put the energy into making that decision. I think what you might want to do, though, is start the application process as quickly as possible so that you can make the most of any visa arrangements that need to be made, any housing arrangements that might need to be made. And we all have, each of us, I think I speak for Mona campus as well. So Cave Hill, we have services and offices of student services that can help you move through some of that part of the decision-making process. So certainly you're welcome, but please start the application process early.
Thanks, Tara. I think that's some really sage advice there about starting the application process early. On applications and that process, I'm going to take a final question, and then I'd like us to talk about employability and collections and resources, because I think that's one of the other exciting elements of this program, and I'd love to delve into that. So the final question that we're going to take on the application process just now is, I'm sorry, apologies, I've just lost it in the chat because it's just moved as another one has come in. It's about, the website says that you may admit applicants who have the equivalent of a degree in the form of professional experience. Can you say more about what you're looking in for those who don't have a degree? So Christine, would you mind advising us on that, please?
Yeah, sure. In a way, this relates to the question about part-time and full-time study, because we anticipate this mixed cohort of students, as well as people who've just come out of an undergraduate degree or some other form of study. We expected that this would be a degree of interest to people with professional experience and people who are perhaps working in this area right now, or who are politically active, or who are community organizers currently, who therefore wouldn't be able to commit full time to a postgraduate degree. And so we have the flexibility of part-time study. And we also wanted to offer this flexibility and inclusivity through the application process. So what we're looking for in people who don't have an undergraduate degree is this rather vague phrasing of the sort of equivalent of undergraduate study. so someone with several years of work experience in a related field, and by work experience, that could be formal paid experience, but could also be several years of voluntary experience, or several years of political activism work. And that would come out through this interview process. So we ask people to write a short personal statement so they can kind of make their case, as it were. And then we would have a conversation between us and the candidates to sort of probe out, like, sort of where are they on this journey? What are they looking to get out of the program? Is it a good fit for the candidate? Are they going to be further enriched by studying in this program? And we can discuss that really, and see what's going to work best. And so, yeah, I would say we're sort of excited to take on board people with professional and work experience in this area, and I think it will enrich the program as a whole that we have candidates like that.
Thanks, Christine. And can I ask you, I mean, Ramona and Tara talked a little bit earlier about some of the collections and specialist resources. I realised I didn't ask yourself, was there anything that you wanted to expand on in that? Because I'm conscious, for example, there are some really exciting collections that candidates would have access to. So I don't know if you want to say a little bit on that.
Yes, well, the University of Glasgow itself holds some really rich resources, both archival resources as well as material culture collections. And so the University of Glasgow is home to the Hunterian Museum, which is one of the oldest university museums in the world. And it has a lot on display, but it's got an awful lot more that's not on display. And those collections are available. What they're for is for teaching and research. And a lot of it was collected during the 18th, 19th century period of imperial conquest and dispossession. And so those objects contain within themselves stories about reparative justice, and have really significant resonances into today's world. In terms of archival collections, the University of Glasgow holds the Scottish Business Archives, which again are businesses from the period of the British Empire. And so anyone who's interested in economic and social history, or in colonial profiteering, or in the commodities trade, which we particularly specialise in here at Glasgow, will find a lot to work with in these archives. And the archivists are really keen for people to come explore these archives and find those colonial connections. We also have a special collections in the university library of everything from medieval up to the modern day, of rare printed books and ephemera. And that's accessible through the library to students. And we also have a special room set up for displaying and using those materials online. So you can ask one of the librarians to set up a session where they show you something from the special collections on Zoom, and they have a special kind of ceiling camera for looking at the documents. So there's really a lot that the university has to offer, and that's not even getting into what the city of Glasgow has in terms of collections, and collections both of documents and of material culture.
Thanks so much, Christine. I am conscious of time, so what I'd really like to focus in on as we lead towards the end of the conversation really is to ask about employability and work-based learning elements that might be embedded in the programme. So Tara, I wonder if I could come to you first on that, please. What are the opportunities for students on the programme in connection to work-based learning, employability, careers advice and so forth?
Well, what I would say about that is that, you know, one of the things that I think is so beneficial about this program and so innovative about this program is that it's almost predicting what will need to be in the workplace and needs to be in the workplace all now. And it moves beyond diversity. So where you might have diversity specialists or in human resource departments, in corporations, or in research spaces or academic spaces, it's really now moving that conversation beyond diversity and making sure that when we have ties to the slave trade and slavery, that there is work that needs to be done to repair those injustices within our communities and within our audiences and within heritage spaces. So when we start to talk about these career options and career paths, I think what we're doing is challenging our external partners to think about employing our students, so the students who have a degree in reparatory justice, to think, because they're going to have really strong research skills, they're going to have really strong technical skills and practical skills to bring the work of activism into the workplace. So what we're saying about where our students are going to be placed is in politically active organizations, organizations that are starting to do repair work. And I think in the United Kingdom, there's a number of spaces where this is happening, outside, not just in academia, but also in corporate bodies as well, looking at researching those links to the slave trade and slavery. So how do you do that research? And how do you do that sensitively? And how do you carry out the work of repair? So I think when we start to think or challenge our partners outside of the university to think about where they're going to employ our students, I think they're going to really think about employing students with these skills. So I firmly believe that there is a place for these skills in international work. I'm sure Ramona is going to talk to us about, especially in the legal framework of reparatory justice, and the kinds of work that needs to be done in justifying those claims. And I think there's going to be a lot of work in the space of the politically active communities that are out there as well.
Thank you very much, Tara. Ramona, would you like to come in on that and expand from the law perspective?
Sure. So what I would add to that is that, first of all, students through the course of this program will be exposed to such diverse expertise, also including through guest lectures delivered by activists, possibly members of national reparation commissions in the various Anglophone Caribbean countries. So the skills that they would gain during this program will give them the necessary and the transferable skills for positions in the public sector, such as policymaking, or positions in civil society organizations or media, so necessary. Because also what we intend through this program is to equip students with the sensibility to understand reparatory justice and the critical understanding of knowledge that is needed to join the movement. Also, I would not put aside the academia. Teaching and contributing to further research is crucial, and the program itself is an excellent step towards PhD studies in fields that are similar or in to the reparatory justice, or furthering their research in the reparatory justice field. But concretely, I would mention the CARICOM. So students will have the skills and the knowledge that they could be maybe advisors to the CARICOM, to regional frameworks, to Caribbean National Reparations Commissions, as well as local or city councils, which would benefit from the knowledge and training students will have received during the program. I would not disregard the private sector, and I'm thinking about advising positions, for example, with private organizations, companies, corporations who wish to get involved in reparatory justice work or are already involved in this work, in reparatory justice work. And I would say because it is an interdisciplinary program and students would have developed most definitely research skills in different areas such as history, but also human rights. I can talk from my teaching perspective. Students will receive training with regard to those human rights tools that can support the legal claim for reparations for slavery, but will also understand the limitations of this legal regime and thus how to use it. Therefore, they will be equipped now with the necessary training and knowledge to also be advisors at regional, national levels or local levels. So these would be just a couple of the opportunities that students will have once they have graduated from this program.
Thank you, Ramona. That was so helpful and really fantastic to get the insight from both Ramona and Tara on the skills that are developed through the programme and potential graduate destinations as well. That's enormously helpful. We should also mention that at each of the campuses there is careers support. So I know that at the Mona and the Cave Hill campuses there are careers hubs as part of the student services teams, and also at University of Glasgow there is an internship hub, which is a really great thing to keep a wee eye on just for some extra curricular opportunities that might come up as well. I'm conscious that I'd really like to do a bit of what I would term a quick fire round. So if we keep all of this on the screen for the final two questions, if that would be okay. I'm really keen. I mean, we've had so much during this conversation. It's been really great to find out about the different elements of the programme. And I'd really like to, I mean, there are so many different elements that I'm feeling excited about, but I'd like to find out from each of you what you are most looking forward to about the programme. So I will go to Ramona first, please.
Oh, thank you, Vicky. Well, I'm very excited. First of all, because of this program and actually starting this academic year, I'm looking forward to meeting the students. This will be the first cohort of this exciting program, and engaging with them in their different locations, whether in person or online, to understand their ideas and experiences that they come to this study, to this program, and also, sharing from my knowledge and research, but also directing them to opportunities and experts and locations that they can further their interests in reparatory justice.
Thank you so much, Ramona. And Christine, I'll come to you next.
Yeah, exactly. Meeting the cohort for the first time, and for me, one of the real joys in the classroom is seeing how students work together and support each other, and how they sort of bring these unique experiences and their own expertise to the discussion, and everyone is sort of enriched by this process. I think also sort of supporting students through that process of finding a research topic. We find that people often come to research with really ambitious aims, really ambitious goals, and it's exciting to work together to find a way to craft a project out of these sort of really lofty kind of aims, and these really exciting broad research questions. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's it. It's like the very beginning and the very end are two like sort of really exciting parts of any program. Seeing students come in and interact with each other, and then that sense of accomplishment that comes from seeing this finished piece of original research turned in. I mean, it never gets boring to see that dissertation at the end.
Thank you, Christine. And Tara, share with us what you're most looking forward to.
Well, for me personally, I think this is a real opportunity to demystify what reparations is about, and to start to communicate and to have better communicators about what reparations means, not only for the Caribbean, but also for the UK and other metropolitan areas that had a stake in the slave trade and slavery. It's about bringing that past experience into the present and making it a part of our daily lives. And I'm really excited to see students think about and be critical about reparations claims, and to think about how the work of repair needs to be done. So, that research element is going to be critical. I think when we really delve down into what needs to be laid as the foundation for reparations is research. So I think when we start to see what students are excited by as they move through the program, I think it will be really great to see at the end what are the questions that they're answering or starting to explore.
Thank you very much. And final question then is, again, to each of you, what would be your top tip for anyone thinking about applying to the programme? So I'll go to Christine first this time.
My top tip would, to really think about what it is that's inspired you to come to reparatory justice, and share that. Really don't be afraid to bring that out in the interview and say that, this is my inspiration, this is who or what or the event in my life that brought me here. Because all these kind of personal experiences, they're really meaningful, and then they really feed into your research in all kinds of unexpected ways.
That is a great tip. Thank you, Christine. And Ramona, share with us your top tip, please.
Well, I would say what I advise students is to be critical, stay critical, and don't be afraid to challenge established ideas.
Thank you, Ramona. And Tara, what is your top tip? Well, I'm going to have two, because I think apply early. So if you're interested in the program, certainly apply as soon as this webcast is finished and you finish viewing and you feel like your question's been answered. Apply as early as possible. And then also, when you're sharing what your personal experience is with reparatory justice, think about what you're interested in. Think about the work that you're doing. And, you don't have to think about, doing this work globally or internationally. You can also think about the work that you might be doing in your own community to raise awareness about reparations. So that's really important to communicate, and you should feel strengthened in your application by communicating that work that you're doing. Thank you very much, Ramona, Christine, and Tara. Some excellent tips there. So that brings us to the end of today's conversation. Enormous thanks to Ramona, Christine, and Tara. I think you've been super generous in your responses to some really excellent questions. It's been a pleasure talking with you and finding out more about this exciting partnership between University of the West Indies and Glasgow in the MSc MA Reparatory Justice. Thank you also to everyone who has joined the live Q&A. We've had some fabulous questions. I apologise if we haven't got through everything, but please, as we said earlier, do not hesitate to reach out. If you have any questions, reach out to the programme conveners, who I know will be very happy to have a conversation with you about the programme. We hope that you found this session helpful. We very much hope we'll be welcoming you to our postgraduate community. And thank you again to everyone, and take care. Bye-bye.